mate. What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
All right, yo, let's get into it.
Try to take over the world.
Preaching,
Try to take over the world.
And greatest chaplain in the world, Mr.
Try
Lance
to
O'Neill.
take over the world.
Yo, what up, world? What up? It is Sunday, 8:30 Eastern. Do you know where your folks are? Of course you do. We are right here with you, and there's no greater place to be than you with us and us with you. Once again, it's your boy KJ Bradley and the world's greatest chaplain, Mr. Lance O'Neill. Chappie, what up?
Hey, how are you, KJ? Are we having a good week?
Well, man. Oh, man, it is amazing. I am excited because tomorrow we get to celebrate the world's most hated man, and I am so excited. I am so excited. We look forward to this.
What's going on with Elon?
Even more.
What's going on? Oh, you said the world's most hated man.
Yeah, we celebrate the world's most hated man tomorrow, and I am so excited. We got a special guest joining us today. You guys have seen her before. Miss Allie McPherson has joined us before the election. For those of you guys who don't remember, her and my boy Elton had a great, robust conversation that stirred up some great conversation. But we brought her back post-election to hear her thoughts, man, and I can't wait to jump into it. Chappie, you ready to bring her in?
Yeah, let's go.
Oh, Allie, what up, girl? How you doing? It's so good to see you again.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's happening?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Oh man, how has life treated you in these last 90 days?
90 days. Very, very good. We moved into our new home and we're just trying to get settled. And Trump won. So hey.
Nice.
It's good.
Congratulations. All right.
Thank you.
We got 90 minutes. We got 4 topics. Allie, since you are our guest, I will let you choose. So I'll give you the topics and then I'll let you pick. We'll go. So we have death to TikTok, administrative expectations, your thoughts on the confirmation hearings, false flags, and then celebrating the most hated man in America. Where do you want to start?
My goodness.
Fun times.
Let's start with TikTok.
TikTok it is. Here we go. All right. So TikTok, I'll get us kicked off. So for those of you guys that don't know, TikTok was supposed to be dead today. Last night, a lot of people went into an uproar and panic because they were unable to log into their TikToks. And if you tried, you got a pretty wonderful note saying that due to administrative policies, we were unable to utilize the platform. But just like Jesus on Easter Sunday with the Easter Bunny and all her wonderful eggs, TikTok wonderfully rose on Sunday morning and you were able to log back in. So the beast is back. I, for one, am excited because it is one of our most engaging platforms. So shout out to our TikTok family. We are glad to see you guys back. What are your thoughts, man? Are you guys excited that TikTok's back or what are your thoughts?
Allie, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I've got kind of mixed emotions about it because I think TikTok is very, very good on some points, but there's a lot of crap on TikTok. So I know my daughter, she gets on TikTok and she does, the fun little videos and stuff like that. And, every once in a while, something slips in there that's totally not child appropriate. So, I'm good with TikTok. I think it's fun. It's, I didn't want to see it get banned. Didn't understand the whole thing, but I mean, it was shut down. We couldn't get on for up till about 3 hours ago. We couldn't get on, but we're on now. So, I mean, I'm good. I've heard that, what is it? Mr. Beast. Is that his name? Mr. Beast, like is trying to buy it. He put in an or something. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so I'm not sure how to feel about that, but hey, it is what it is. It's fun. So
you got a couple of guys putting in a couple.
Yeah, my kids were like, oh,
yeah.
My 11-year-old told it. No, he is. He's buying it. I was like, Hold on, let me go look.
You got
No, he's not.
Mr. Beast, Mr. Wonderful is putting in a couple of bids. I put in a $34 bid. I'll let them talk me up to 42, but after that, I'm out. So
that beat my 12.
Yeah. I don't think I can compete too much. What you got? What's your thoughts, Lance? I got a couple of thoughts, but I think I'll wait to the back end on this.
Well, first on TikTok, let's for a minute give a shout out to CTR Media Network, who we are actually live on. I just checked the site
on Roku. Shout out to our TikTok, man. I'm telling you, I got to get back used to that. Welcome to our CTR Media Network family. This is our second live episode for our Roku family. Welcome, you guys. We are definitely glad to be a part of the network and the family. We'll get it together. I promise you.
We'll give it thumbs up, stars, whatever it is. So my thoughts on TikTok. Okay, as far as TikTok goes, I'm not a big TikTok person. I think I've made a half dozen, and they were political. So, and I got the people yelling at me on one side and the other people yelling at me on the other. I did one where somebody cut me off in a parking lot, which, okay, fine. But the thing that I find very, very curious, and I don't remember who I read this about, and I think it's the point that everybody's kind of missing, is that this ban was put in place and held in place by the Supreme Court of the United States. And so if there's a ban that's put into place that's tried and upheld, I don't know how President Trump or President Biden could write just a piece of paper that says, no, TikTok's good, because the whole point of it is that it has to be divested from the communist Chinese ownership. And so I don't think they've done that yet. And so I wonder how we get to the point where, okay, it didn't need to be turned off yesterday, and now it's turned on today, and it's on with a message that says, hey, we hope to keep going because of President Trump. And I've seen people go, oh, look, even TikTok's bending over backwards to work with Trump. It's like, well, yes, everybody is. He's the new president. You don't want to be left out in the cold. But at the same time, I do question what the mechanisms involved are, because as somebody who actually appreciates the Constitution and tries to understand the Constitution, I'm not sure if the Supreme Court says, hey, there's a ban and it needs to be, and we're going to uphold this ban unless you do this, and this has not been done. I'm not sure how it stays alive. And if it gets sold, fine. If it's, I don't care who owns TikTok. I'm honestly, I texted KJ this a couple of days ago. Why doesn't somebody start a new media platform called TikTok and spell it the right way? TICK, TOCK, and go, hey, just come on over here. But overall, it's one more thing. I'm sure the kids are going over to Instagram, or I don't even know. There's one Red something that people are going over to, which I kind of laugh at because it's another communist-based platform. I'm sorry, Chinese-based platform. Let me be real clear when I say that.
Yeah. So we have to be careful with our words. I'm a little bit torn, and then we've seen with the SCOTUS and the way they work, rules have somehow been I don't want to say broken, but they've been massaged,
ignored.
Your words, not mine. I am trying to be more.
My word.
I'm trying to be more understanding going into this new administration, right? So I'm sure there's going to be some kind of way that this can work out. I don't have an issue with it. I just think the focus is a little off, right? Like we can say, okay, well, TikTok is a national security concern and it's our highest priority and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, cool, great. China owns what, 380,000 plus acres of farmland. China owns
military bases.
China owns, over 20 million properties across the United States, just corporations. But we're worried about TikTok. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of like, okay, well, how big of a threat is it? I get it from a personal data standpoint, but it's like, if you're going to let them, if you're going to let them own the homes and own the farmland and, be main investors in a lot of our corporations, what's the difference at this point? You know what I'm saying? It's just a bunch of, smoke and mirrors to me, in my opinion, because it's like at the end of the day, you're still, they still have access to all our main, waterways. They still have access to all our food sources, all our infrastructure.
Well, I think the biggest difference is just simply somebody decided to come out and sue, and that's probably the biggest difference. I agree with you as far as the security stuff. I think it's ridiculous. But at the same time, people are stupid, and when you have people say, "I don't want the government to be able to track where I am and what I'm doing at all times," and goodness forbid they're able to do anything that people don't understand. I mean, it's open source. If you want to go look up what the NSA can do, go look up what the NSA did. It's not a surprise what anybody in this country is doing. And the thing that kind of bothers me more is what I brought up as far as the Supreme Court and people ignoring court orders. And I find it curious that we're supposed to be a nation of laws, but if it doesn't, we can have something go all the way to Supreme Court, and then if it's ignored, so what? You have Congress. Let's go back and let's be political for a minute. We could probably count on multiple hands between us how many times Fauci lied while he was giving testimony to Congress about multitude of things. Has he been charged with lying to Congress? I'm pretty sure that's against the law. I think it is. I can't tell you the statute, but everything I've ever been told is if you get called in front of Congress, you get sworn in, and there are perjury laws in place, and yet I haven't seen anybody, and that's not just Fauci. Don't get me wrong. There's many people.
If we ever started to hold account to people who lied to Congress, we would never get anything done. It's almost. I
disagree.
It's almost expected to lie to Congress now. Even not getting ahead of ourselves, but even going into the confirmation hearings, you're almost expected to lie to Congress. I've never seen between this administration and the last two administrations. We can even go back to the last three administrations. I've never seen so many candidates blatantly outright lie and pervert the truth or contort the truth for confirmation hearings. Like, bro, we got you on tape. This is Republican and Democrat both, so I don't want you to figure I'm picking either side. But
yeah, for sure.
Blatantly come up there and just stonewall and be like, "Oh no, I didn't say that." Be like, "But sir, I have transcripts and I got you on tape." And he'd be like, "Oh well, you misinterpreted what I said." Like, no, you're right here. It's just at this point, it's like there are no rules and they're all suddenly enforced. Like, one of the congressmen who came out and was like, he said something about how many senators have come up here and voted that night drunk. What the are you talking about, man? Are you out of your mind? Who blatantly says that? And then he said it as though as though it's like some.
We all know.
I'm like, dude.
I'll tell you, we don't have that on the list. But this week, the Speaker of the House came out and he relayed a story where he went in. He'd been asking for a meeting with President Biden. He'd been stonewalled. He finally kind of forces his way in. He gets in there and he's got the VP in there. He's got the chief of staff. And finally, Biden kind of said, "Hey, you guys need to step out for a minute." And they all kind of freaked out and he stepped out. And then the speaker said, "Hey, what about liquid natural gas and this and that? And why, you paused it." And Biden says, "No, I didn't." He says, "Yeah, you did." He says, "I never signed that." He goes, "Sir, I can have your secretary go to him. I promise you signed an executive order halting liquefied natural gas to Europe." And Biden was saying, "No, I didn't." Now, one, as disturbing as that story is, why was he holding on to this story for over a year? Now, I get there's some stuff that you're going, "Well, I didn't want to embarrass the president." But you know what? That's probably information that the American people should have known, that the president was either manipulated into signing an executive order that had really serious national security effects, or he didn't know about it, and they did what Radar used to do to Henry Blake and said, here, just sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here.
Really?
And Biden said, yeah, okay. Trusting his staff.
I mean, in the last 3 months, you've had senators come out and openly admit that they don't even read the damn bills that come across the board. He's like, oh, who has time to read these bills? Like, dude, what the hell? So to honestly expect anybody in our legislature, especially our elected officials, to do anything is, I think, ambitious of us at this point. They are just talking points.
But that's why you have staff. All right. So, KJ, we've both been in the military. When you get in front of a commander, the first thing he says is, I don't want to know all the, I don't care about all the, give me the bluff. Give me the bottom line up front. Mm-hmm. And if you can't say what the bottom line up front is in 10 to 15 seconds, the commander says, you know what? You can leave, go get your stuff together, and then you can come back. Right? So to me, it's much more on the staff. And I think everybody that has been around Biden. And so, even again, to go back to TikTok, how many of these people were told, well, this is what we're actually doing. This is what and the congressmen, and they're just like, oh, okay. You have to trust your staff. You have to be able to rely on people. And I've been saying this for years. That is why the swamp is the way it is because of the staffs. It's not necessarily the congressman that comes in and gets manipulated by other people in Congress. It's he gets manipulated by staff, and his staff gets manipulated by the other staff because, like, realistically, whoever's in charge of the congressional office, like you just said, do you really think they have the time to read every single bill? When it's like a budget, they drop a budget on your desk that is 4,000 pages, and you're supposed to read that in 3 days. You can't do it. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And that's where I go back to kind of the accountabilities. If TikTok continues on, I just look at that and go, okay, I'm fine with it as long as they have met the standard that the Supreme Court upheld by federal judge. And don't get me wrong, there's lots of federal judges I absolutely hate. I think it's ridiculous when a federal judge can come in and say, well, I interpret it this way, and then suddenly it, screeching halt to the country for whatever it is. I don't want to give an example necessarily, but I could. But isn't that and most of the time those are done when it's somebody legislating from the bench. And that's why when I hear these congressmen go back, like Senator Mike Lee from Utah, saying, look, we need to get back to the legislature doing its job. They need to be the ones who are writing the bills, writing the laws, and then it goes to the president. He signs it into law, and then the courts decide, is that constitutional or not? It's almost like there was an old 70s cartoon talking about how bills were made, and now that doesn't exist anymore.
That's what money gets involved. Ollie, what you think?
I think it comes down to, I think it's been forgotten how the government and how everything is set up. Like, everybody, I've heard so many times, you're not above the law. You're not above the law. It seems like a lot of people are above the law, paying people off, however that may be. But I think the American people, for the most part, including myself, don't trust the government, period. Like, even if there is a law that's put in, I mean, they're going to change it to fit what they want it to be on either side. And I'm just not saying Democrat or Republican. I think everybody just takes little bits and pieces of the law that they really want to enforce, and then they go with that instead of, having the president sign it. It goes to the Supreme Court. It goes into law. Just like the same thing, as that just came to my mind, the big government. Why do we have governors in each state to govern their state? So I think it comes down to trust. I think that there's good people on both sides, both Democrat and Republican, but I also believe that it just comes down to nobody trusts the government anymore. Nobody, you can break the law and nothing's going to happen, except if you're Trump, then it's going to go and whatever. But nothing's going to happen. You know, like everything that I go back a little bit, you know, with Hillary Clinton, you know, it was proven. She, you know, deleted emails. Nothing's ever happened. Nothing's ever happened to people on either side. And I think it's a trust thing. I don't trust the government. My hopes are a little bit brighter because I am thrilled, you know, that Trump won and he's getting in. But on the same hand, if he messes up and he screws up, I don't have a problem with saying, you know what, I made a mistake by voting for him. But at the time, that was my choice. But we just don't trust. We don't trust Congress. We don't trust the Senate. It's everybody. I think they forget. I think senators and congressmen, I think they forget they were put in by the people. And then once you get there, you do what you promise to the people, not what you want. And I think that's what it's turned into. And we need to drain the swamp. Totally. Like start over. I mean, how do you do that? You know, there's no way to do that.
Yes, there is. There's a simple way, but nobody wants to do it. I've put this out before. All we need to do is move the federal government to Wichita, Kansas, and suddenly the swamp will be drained.
There you go.
Why does nobody takes that seriously? Wichita, Tulsa. So what are your expectations? What are some reasonable expectations as the new administration, as 47 takes over and kind of gets his feet up on them? What are some reasonable expectations that you expect, you know, from the POTUS and his team?
Well, first of all, I go by what he ran on. You know, I hope that taxes do get lowered. I hope that the military does become stronger. I hope that he does take care of our seniors. You know, as far as, you know, medication goes, you know, that's a big thing for me with my parents. I mean, when they can't, you know, when they can barely afford food because, you know, my dad's medications are $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a month. And they're on Medicare. So I'm hoping there's a whole, you know, change in that. I hope there's a lot of changes in the education system and what is being taught. I'm really blessed that my daughter is in more of a private school here in Louisiana, you know, where history is taught. Home ec is taught. The older kids have to take, you know, tax courses. They stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. They sing the national anthem every morning. It's focused on the education for the children, not, you know, what can the teachers get? And I'm not putting down teachers because I couldn't be a teacher nowadays. There's no way. But I think the teachers need to teach. So going back, I think the education system needs to be, something needs to be done there. And as far as taxes, Medicare, oh my gosh, there's so many. My hopes are very high and my expectations are very high. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You know, I might be really disappointed. And if I am, then I'll be upfront and honest with it. But I just know that we can't have what we've had for the past 4 years because for me, it hasn't been good. And for a lot of other people, it hasn't been good. So really any change from the last 4 years would be awesome.
I think Greenland needs to be executed. Canada needs to be pulled in. Panama can, okay. Honestly, as far as expectations go, for me, there's probably really only one that I legitimately hope he, and I'm going to say he in this case because Trump is responsible for this, and it's more than just the legislature. I think it is the executive branch, and the president's job has some specific things in defending the Constitution of the United States and the sovereignty of this country are the two most important. they need to secure the borders in a way that we know who's coming in, who's going out, and we need to do something about the people that are here illegally. Now, people will say, "Oh, you're heartless, and a Christian would never. Jesus was a refugee." It's like, hold on now. Yeah. So, well, you see stuff like that, right? And so I look at it and I say, again, I think the easiest way would be for the legislature to pass a bill that says any company or individual who hires somebody who's illegally in this country, knowingly or not, will be fined $1,000 per day per instance. And okay, all that means is I better be dang sure that who I'm hiring as a company is here legally. And what is the difference between that and some guy that's 25 years old and he's brought up on charges for statutory rape, and he says, whoa, she told me she was 19, and it turns out she was only 16. And what do the courts say? Well, it's your responsibility to verify how old that person is. And even if that person had a fake ID, the courts don't care. The courts are like, she was 16. She lied to you or not. She was 16. She couldn't, agree to this. And so it's on you. So if you have these companies who say, well, I didn't know I hired somebody who, and again, this isn't just somebody who came across the southern border. It can be somebody who came across the northern border. It can be somebody who has, their visa has expired. There are ways to do this. And again, I am fine with immigration. I love legal immigration. Everybody in this country was a legal immigrant. And even the people who say not Native Americans, they were here originally. Guess what? At some point, they came across the bridge, the ice bridge. They came from Asia too. So at some point, everybody moved somewhere. There's no such thing as the original Adam and Eve individuals who they get to lay claim to everything. Okay. Not in the legal terms. I'm not saying anybody who's Christian says there's a real Adam and Eve. That's cool. Hey, I'm religious as well, and that's fine. What I'm saying is who get to lay legal claim. Because Adam and Eve are going, hey, look, let's go back. Here's where we figured out where the Garden of Eden is. It's right here, and now it's mine because I can trace my line back to Adam and Eve. So if you go back far enough, there's always somebody that can claim the land. But we are a world that moves forward. History has always been written by the winners. You have the country and the borders are drawn basically by the strongest country, or at the point where the country says, okay, we've won and we're going to make a deal. People forget when people talk about Mexico and all that. The U.S. not only invaded Mexico, it went down and basically captured Mexico City. And then they said, here's what we're going to do. You're going to give us this land up here. In exchange, we're not going to take everything. We're going to let you have Mexico. Now, there was some stuff as far as Europe and all that. But ultimately, that was the case. The U.S. right now, we could have all of Mexico as part of the United States if at the time the government had said, that's what we're going to do. We conquered you. It's ours.
Yeah, it was negotiated. We had some negotiators come in too.
Well, but that was the thing but as far as might makes right, we had the right to do it. And that's all I'm saying. So at this point, I would be happy with every border guard that is on the border gets a nice little bump in pay. I would be happy with a reduction in everybody that works for ICE or Border Patrol that's in a desk job in DC. I'd like to see a reduction of that force down to about 30%. And if you want to stay in your job, that's fine. You get to move to Texas, Arizona, Montana, wherever, right? IRS agents, I'd love to see a slash in IRS agents. I don't know. I think there's something to be said for a flat tax, but if you're not going to do a flat tax, I think there should be something as far as the IRS agents go and say, all right, for every person that you audit that makes less than $50,000 as an agent, you need to audit 2 people that make more than 200,000. So go for the big fish. Go get the corporations. I just don't know how much of this will happen because, again, it has to be the legislature who is really driving the train here. And 2016, the legislature was not MAGA. They are much more now. And so, and when I say MAGA, I'm only saying in support of Trump. I'm not saying like that they are themselves, the MAGA people. But I think if you have a traditional Congress that supports the president of their party, I want to see President Trump over the next 2 years say, what are our 10 most important things? Let's focus on those 10. Let's get because I think I've said before, I think Obama made a huge mistake because he used so much time and so much political clout on Obamacare for the first 2 years. Not only did he have Congress, he had a supermajority. He could have come out, he could have ratified abortion, he could have done almost anything.
No, he couldn't. You and I both know good and damn well he couldn't have done anything.
Well, he could have done almost anything that Democrats were supporting.
He could have proposed anything, but good and damn. When somebody gets up there and they start shouting immediately, all right, let's not kid ourselves, right? We can leave all the optimism aside. Even with a damn super majority, there were still obstacles, right? And the fact that he had Obamacare passed was a miracle in itself. And the fact that it took 2 years to get passed with the super majority shows you just how hard it was to get passed. You had the Speaker of the House come out and says their number one priority one is to make sure that he gets not a single law passed. And he was damn near.
Hold on. First of all, that was McConnell. Whoa. That was McConnell after he lost this, but that was after he lost the supermajority. The red wave came in.
But let's not act like McConnell was not any less powerful. Senator McConnell and Paul Ryan were the two most powerful senators in that area.
At that point, it didn't matter. KJ, when you have a supermajority, you can do things that you can't do the rest of the time.
Then, Lance, why did it take 2 years to get Obamacare passed if you could do that?
Because Democrats didn't back around because they were looking at all the other stuff as well. There are certain things you can do with a supermajority. You can override.
Lance, you're full of shit. With the supermajority, Republicans got the SCOTUS pushed in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. You know why? Because yes, they got their confirmation. No,
AJ, we're talking about different things here. Hold on. Let's clarify what a supermajority is.
You're talking about a supermajority. You're talking about having the majority in both the Senate and the House.
No, that's not what a supermajority is.
What are you talking about?
A supermajority is when you have 60 senators of one party.
Yes.
You have the House, you have the Senate, but the Senate has to have those 60.
Yes.
So Obama is the only president that has had a supermajority in decades. He's the only one.
Yes. And he was still thwarted. Why?
Because his own party.
Do you really think the Democrats are that damn incompetent? Do you think out of 100 years of legislation, those 8 years, not even 4. Those 4 years, they were that grossly incompetent that they could only get one piece of legislation pushed.
Hold on. First of all, it wasn't only one piece. It was one major thing. And what I'm saying is, because that was such a massive thing to change, to override the way healthcare worked in America. Healthcare in America is one of the top, I think, 3 industries in the entire country. Health insurance, and when we're including health insurance and all that. Because that money's involved and because it's such a big deal, I think if Obama had said, now look, he passed it. He got it with 60 votes in the Senate, all Democrats, 0 Republicans. And they passed it in the House and got a 0 Republican support there. Stuff like that happens, right? Okay. So he got it passed. But what I'm saying is, if he and the Democrats had said, all right, if we have these 10 things, what are our 10 biggest things? And immediately after 2 months, they said, gosh, this Obamacare thing, I don't know if we can get this done. Let's look at number 2. What's our number 2? And I don't know what number 2 at the time would have been. Let's look at number 3. Let's do that. So what I'm saying is, I don't think Trump can even get this stuff done very easily, unless he has the Republicans basically 100% behind him. And then even if that happens, there are certain things that a Republican Congress will not get behind because it's not in their own interest. If you were to say, we are going to process, we're going to do a flat tax, you would never get it. We're going to have term limits. You're never going to get it. Now, could Obama have gotten term limits passed? Here, let's go with this. Could Obama have gotten a bill passed, or even a constitutional amendment potentially passed in 2010 to have term limits? I think he could have, except they wouldn't have voted for it. So Congress, you have the same problem with Congress that you have with everybody else. They don't care what the president says. They want what's for them. They want the fact that anything gets done in America in Congress is kind of ridiculous because they're not representatives. They're there for themselves, and they're there to get reelected and to make money and put money in their pockets. And that's unfortunately the way it's gone for now decades. So do I think Obama could have done more if he'd come off of Obamacare? Yes. That said, it didn't happen, so it doesn't really matter. But ultimately, what Trump gets done, Trump is going to need people like, and I am amazed to say this, if you'd asked me to say this 2 years ago, I would have said you're crazy. Trump is going to need people like John Fetterman who go, okay, yeah, hey, let's see if we can actually work together and figure out some things that'll be good for the country. John Fetterman might be the biggest surprise for me politically in the last 10 years. Like Trump coming in 2016, that really didn't surprise me because Trump had been talking about running for president on and off. Even, he ran at one point in the early 2000s on one of the minor tickets and didn't do anything, right? But for Fetterman to come in, have a stroke, win, and then be the voice of reason on the side of the Democrats, I wouldn't have thought, there's no way. I mean, there's some people I could have picked. Fetterman was not it. So
shocker. He was a shocker.
Yeah. So my expectations, realistically, let's go back to the original question. My expectations, I don't have expectations. If you want to go realistic, I expect them to all lie, cheat, and steal and try to put as much money in their pockets as they possibly can.
Fair enough.
I think that's a good expectation. Probably be met.
Fair enough. I am, for the sanity and sake of the conversation, I'm going to leave it at that because my expectations, I hope that I am wrong on every expectation I have for the administration. I don't like when billionaires and corporate interests meet a president who is more concerned about ego than he is about governing and policy. Bad things happen. We've seen it too many times in our history as a country. And I don't like the way the wind is blowing in terms of policy. I don't like the rhetoric that's coming out of the White House. I don't like the fact that nothing that they campaigned on has been spoken about since the election has been won. We completely pivoted. I don't like the fact that the president, after winning the election, came out and blatantly said, oh, shit, hey, man, remember that whole thing about bringing groceries down? I don't think we can do that. Oh, yeah. Hey, gas prices. Listen, man, I don't have no control over that. If we get it down, great. But that's not really a priority or concern of mine. I'll try. I mean, I guess I'll try. But you know what's really a concern of mine? I think we should rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of fucking America because that's important to me. Since when did he campaign on that? I guarantee you, had he sat up at a campaign rally and said, you know what, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. I wonder how many goddamn votes he would have got. Or if he went.
I think that would have played right into the jingoism.
Oh, shit. How many people you think are sitting around? As I'm sitting down looking at my grocery bill, or I'm trying to decide whether I need to buy eggs or I need to buy insulin, I'm thinking to myself, you know what's really important to me right now? We should rename the Gulf of fucking Mexico.
Jingo. Jingoism is a huge thing for people. Hey, that's something I can get behind. It's look how big a fight it was to rename the army bases.
Yeah,
Why?
you know what?
Same reason.
I know my grandma needs her insulin, but you know what's more important to me? We should take back the Panama Canal. The hell with grandma.
Nobody's saying it's one or the other. Now, and
we got bigger priorities. The Panama Canal is our priority right now. The hell with capping. You know what? We don't give a shit about no damn capping. You know what? Let that capping insulin. They were wrong. Okay. I know what the people talk about. The people are in the Midwest. The people sitting in Ohio and Wisconsin, when they sit at their dinner tables, the main thing that they are talking about at their dinner table is how we need to annex Greenland. That's what's important, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene said that her number one priority is changing the goddamn maps. That's the important stuff because that's what they ran.
Does it surprise you that she said that though?
It doesn't matter what it does. I told y'all it was a train wreck. I've been screaming from the get-go that this is going to be a train wreck of epic proportions. And you know what you did to me? You laughed in my face and you told me I was batshit crazy. And then
do you remember when we talked about this? We said, what do people talk about during campaigns?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever they need to get elected, right?
And
so this can't be a surprise.
No, but it's not a surprise to me. But I'm saying I hope I'm wrong for everything I expect. Because when you have a guy like Elon Musk, right? When you have a guy like Elon Musk threatening out corporate, and I will tell you my biggest red flag is in December. When Elon Musk tweeted out, hey, you should probably relook that bill. And then the damn Speaker of the House comes out and says, hey, we should probably relook that bill. That's a red fucking flag to me.
Do you think that the first time that Speaker Johnson was told maybe you should take a second look at that bill was him reading it on X?
No. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the difference between Elon Musk and I in the eyes of the government is he's got a whole hell of a lot more influence than I do. Our positions are still the same.
Here's to me, this is what's going on. Trump is using Elon Musk to basically be his bully pulpit. Okay. So Trump can look like the good guy and say, hey, look, I'm trying to help the American people. I'm trying to do the right thing. And he's getting smart and he's going, I'm going to have somebody else kind of be the sledgehammer. I'm going to have somebody else be the bad guy because I was the bad guy for 4 years. Now, I could be wrong, but to me, it seems like that's very possible. Now, on the other side of it, and you acknowledge this has been going on for decades.
Sure.
You know who was giving money to Woodrow Wilson?
But we haven't finished that. The whole time, because that you say one and I give you an anomaly. But then you bring in guys like Zuckerberg, and then you bring in guys like what's your boy over in Africa sticking people and doing experiments in the name of philanthropy. What's your boy? I can't remember.
Oh, Bill Gates.
You bring in.
Yeah, they're all falling in line.
I wonder why. That's what. But what I'm saying is what my grandmama used to tell me. What my grandmama used to tell me is where there's smoke, there's usually goddamn lightning. And when you start getting a whole bunch of billionaires lining up and they all becoming mighty damn friendly with the damn presidency, that's a problem. And
why do you think they're doing that? Go through that, KJ. Why are they getting chummy?
Why do you think? Because regulation's about to be. Listen, we could go back through this left and right.
No, right? Keep going with that thought. Go with that thought.
Right? We've seen this. When you have the elite get chummy with the government and deregulation occurs on a massive level, bad things happen for common people. And I hope to God I'm wrong because one, I don't want to see people die on a massive level because the government never really pays out when that shit happens. It's always oopsie, right? It's always oopsie with the common man. Hey, sorry, man. If only we could see this coming, right? So I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am so wrong that I have to come on here and apologize for the next 4 years. I do.
What deregulation? Let's for that. What deregulation are you worried about that is most likely to put American lives at risk?
Let's see. if I had something, let's see, if I had something to go back to, I do. Shit, let's see. We can go back to 45. President 45, right? He's a fan of deregulation. He cut back the DOT transportation inspections, right? And lo and behold, we had massive fucking train incidents, right? We had the big incident in Pennsylvania 3 times. Matter of fact, that continued to roll into 2020 until the Biden administration said, you know what, enough of that shit, start the inspections, right? Then we had the big food epidemic that happened because they cut back the food inspections, right? For deregulation. That was only minor because COVID kind of came in and nipped a lot of that shit in the bud. So if you have an unfeathered 4 years of deregulations and no inspections, and they say, hey, you don't have to do that, that's concerning, man. That is concerning to me.
One of the biggest train disasters we've had in this country, though, happened under the Biden watch 2 years in.
Yeah, man. You think that shit just automatically happened? No. It deregulation, yeah. It happened because the policies were cut in 45's administration.
You said Biden then came in and put them back in place.
Yes, after the train wreck. He had to. But the reason the train wreck happened is because the inspections were cut in 45's rank. Cause and effect.
Hold on. If the deregulations were so important, why didn't Biden come in and put them back into place when he got in office?
The same reason you just said, the same reason we just talked about earlier. If he has all this other stuff to worry about, that's the last thing on the mind. And then something happens, he's like, oh shit, we probably should have paid attention to that. Right? We can't excuse guys and then come back and say, oh, well, he should have known. Well, shit, yeah, he should have known, but that probably wasn't his priority. A lot of other shit was going on. And when Biden took over, we were trying to recover from a fucking pandemic. So trains were probably low on the totem pole at that point, if we're being honest. If we're going to look at it fair and objectively, trains and public transportation is probably pretty low on the damn priority pole when recovering from a pandemic. You know what I'm saying? If we're going to be objective about it.
Well, sure.
Yeah. So to say, oh, well, shit, why didn't he do that? Well, why he should have known about it? Well, yeah, he probably should have. And all things created equal, had he came in with a fair shake, that probably been something that the team would have looked at. But
KJ, I think you're looking at. I don't think cause and effect is in play here, though, because if you have, let's just use just the rail system. Let's say just the rail system. Sure. Let's say the deregulation doesn't happen.
Okay.
Can you guarantee to me that if the deregulation didn't happen, those train accidents that you're referencing didn't happen or wouldn't have happened? Because when you're talking about the rails in America, you're talking about an entire network that needs trillions of dollars in upgrades. You're talking about something that has been neglected for decades and so you can say, well, it's possible, and I'll agree it's possible.
But what you don't do is you don't say, oh, well, you don't take away and say, oh, well, it's going to happen anyway, so we're just not going to inspect it at all. Fuck it. It's going to happen.
Not saying that. Right. What I'm saying is the cause and effect is not necessarily there. So as far as you can look at every presidency and you can look at issues, right? I love what DeSantis said a couple weeks ago when they were talking to him about the wildfires. And DeSantis is like, look, I was told when I first came in as governor, and it's been absolutely true. If there's a natural disaster, you people in the press are going to immediately start blaming me, even though I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't start the hurricane. The governor in California, he didn't light these fires. Now, there's things we can do as a government that can try to make things lessen, and we can try to do things that will help our overall situation. But overall, things happen, especially with nature. So when we're looking at some of the stuff that Trump is going to do, there's going to be stuff that happens. Stuff's going to go wrong over the next 4 years. I would hope that the things that go wrong, it's kind of like the what was her name? Lincoln Riley that got murdered.
The girl in Georgia?
Yeah, Riley.
Yep.
Wasn't that her name? Something like that. Anyway, do I blame Biden for that? No. Do I blame the policies for that? I mean, it's possible, but I look at that and go, that's where you have to have the risk reduction. And maybe that's what you're saying is, hey, we need regulation to have risk reduction. And that would at least potentially, if the odds of that train of the derailing of that train were 70%, and after deregulation, it went down to 67%. Hey, even that 3% really matters. Certain things I agree with. It does matter. Illegal immigrants. I think on the right, there's people who say, well, if these immigrants weren't here, none of these crimes would have happened. You have people on the left say, oh, no, there still would have been these crimes. And I look at that and go, well, wait a minute. If an illegal is not here, then that crime would not have been committed. Point blank. It just doesn't work like that. That said, you're never going to eliminate crime completely. You're never going to eliminate people coming in illegally. The money's just too big. The drugs, you're never going to eliminate the drugs until you make it not economically viable to make it happen. So as far as everything with Trump goes and deregulation, until it doesn't make sense financially for people, it's going to continue to happen. And if you want to say, like, there are certain things, deregulation, I'm all for. I don't think anything should be regulated online outside of porn, children and porn, the thing, child porn, some of those things. If you're an adult, you want to go online and you want to whatever, go for it. But with kids, I think, that's where I go, hold on. And that's kind of when we've talked about the book banning. And I say, look, if somebody wants to ban a book in an elementary school, fine, but you don't ban it from the county library, because there's a difference. If, as a parent, I want to go in and show them. But a parent going in and showing an 8-year-old porn, I think the parent should be arrested. So there's just certain things that I think regulation really needs to be limited, but the regulation that's in place needs to be there for a very specific reason. And that specific reason should be very clearly stated to protect the people of the United States from a very specific harm, not just, hey, we think this might be kind of bad, so we're going to have this law that says whatever. Because then they pick and choose. Look at the Biden administration. They were picking and choosing with the COVID vaccines. I just saw a thing today that said one of the original polio vaccines, a certain brand of polio vaccine, it killed 25 people. It was pulled off the market. A different vaccine, 28 people pulled off the. And then you get down to where the COVID vaccine, and you have literally thousands and thousands of injuries and or deaths, and it really didn't do anything. Almost every study that's coming out is saying there was almost no efficacy. It basically didn't make anything if you got COVID any less, all this stuff, but it's still on the market. Why? Who was investing? And that's where I go, wait a minute, that's where the government should have gone in. I'm way more worried about Bill Gates and Fauci having a cut of Pfizer and that vaccine still being on the market. And not only being on the market, people pushing for it to be an annual vaccine. I haven't let my kids get it, and I won't let my kids get it. So certain things should have regulation.
You got to push that back a little bit though, because that wasn't 46's call. That was 45's call, and his lightning implementation. I'm just saying.
Here's the thing: if 46 had come out, if 46 and the FDA had come out 6 months in, and they said, "Look, the problem is with the vaccine is that it is killing people. Here's the documentation," I would have been the first one saying, "Yeah, Trump screwed up."
Yeah, they should have. I mean, two wrongs don't make it right. Two wrongs don't make it right. But we gotta make sure that we assign the blame appropriately. We can't say we can't sit back and be like, "Oh, Biden killed a lot of people," but no, that wasn't Biden. Biden didn't push that shit through.
Government. It was the government. But
Biden was our government killing us on purpose.
But if you remember, Biden and the Democrats did a 180 on the COVID vaccines. When it first started going, you remember Nancy Pelosi, I will never take a vaccine that was authorized by President Trump. And as soon as Biden got in place, everybody needs to take this vaccine. It's the greatest thing ever. I mean, so it was all political. What's the bet that Nancy Pelosi had money in Pfizer?
Everybody had money. Like, it's the same thing now. That's why I'm against allowing, them to have access to stocks that they can invest in. That's dumb.
Agreed.
But all right. So we got to move on because we're burning time. All right, Allie, let's talk about your confirmation hearing. Have you been following along with this week's confirmation hearings? Anything stuck out to you? Anything exciting?
I've tried to watch as much as I could, and to be very honest, I think it's been pretty disgusting as far as the democratic questioning of the candidates, I get questioning them, but to question them on a personal level and attacking their past, mistakes and focusing on that, them focusing on the job that they're there trying to get a confirmation for, like the Bondi girl, gal, I can't think of her first name all of a sudden, but, and Hexif, like attacking him for, an affair that he had. And then you read all over Facebook, well, I don't want, somebody who's going to cheat on their wife to, in this position. And it's like, I bet there's very few congressmen and people in Washington that haven't cheated, and so I thought it was really, really messed up, honestly. Like, I don't think, I'm sitting there listening, and I'm listening to the questions and wanting to get decent answers and on why this person is going to help, run this country and make decisions. And I didn't get it. It was like, there was times in some of these questionings that, they were laughing and represent Sheehy, there was all these little jokes. And I thought, I kept on saying to myself, this shouldn't be a joke, and this shouldn't be, something that any of us on either side take lightly. I mean, these are people that are going to be in charge. And so I kind of found it disheartening a little bit to watch them. And I did turn it off for a bit because I'm like, I don't think this is how it's supposed to be. This is not, you got one side over here, asking questions and then going, you're a good person and da 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 personally, and then over here you're a cheater. And I'm like, this isn't a soap opera. This is the country. We need to take this more seriously. And I watching this week, I didn't see that. I didn't see anybody really taking it seriously. And I honestly felt bad in some cases for those being questioned.
I'll tell you though, the Secretary of Defense having an affair does not disqualify you when the vast majority of people in the military have had affairs as well. It puts them in line with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm not trying to.
And affairs in the military? Where are my pearls?
And it's like, but, they brought so many people brought that up. And then it was just, I don't know. It was like very confusing and disheartening. It's like, focus on their experience in that job and what they can do and questions. And, then they were asking questions. Will you tell President Trump no? Will you? And it's like, and they were like, well, we haven't read the files. We haven't read the records. But, if that needs to be done, then yes, I will. Well, will you tell him no for this? Well, what? I didn't understand that answer. It was a very one-sided question that would benefit one side, them both. So it was disheartening to me. I thought it was kind of joking.
I didn't watch Bondi, but I read something. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if this is true, but I would have. It's great if she did. It said Adam Schiff asked her, "Are you going to investigate me and somebody else if President Trump tells you to?" And she said, "Is there anybody else you're telling me I shouldn't investigate so I can write their name down and have the list?" And I don't think it happened. I think I read that. I was like, that's hilarious. I would have loved it if she'd said that. Yeah. Just because to me, the hearings, look, none of them got as bad as the Kavanaugh hearing. And so for that, I'm grateful because the Kavanaugh I thought was so just ridiculous. But as far as these hearings, there's not a single KJ and I think it was you, KJ, I said that if Matt Gaetz had just decided to stay in, he would have been fine. If he still would have got, he would have been, if he just said, "Hey, you know what? I've been nominated Maybe it would have been fine because look at Hegseth. Everybody's so it's going to get approved. And in worst case scenario, I think you'd have a situation where they actually do something with Congress and they do the recess appointments for anybody else that he wants to do. It would just mean you wouldn't have somebody in that post for a little bit. But overall, I don't know. I think the hearings are what they've seemed to be for the past however long. They're a way for individuals to get on TV and spotlight and look how smart I am, or hey, look, I'm going to get my message out. I'm going to support President Trump no matter what. Listen to me. Or hey, somebody's against me, so I'm going to make a point that sounds really good that has nothing to do with anything. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
I mean, most of the stuff, it's all showboating. It's all like, if this stuff wasn't televised, nobody would care. It'd be like, oh, do we have everybody now? Is everybody approved? Yeah. Anybody else we need to worry about? No? Okay. Yeah. So while I'm all for it,
I was going to say, and I can't remember who said it. They were like, you're here because you support Trump. You're a Trump supporter. And I was thinking to myself,
yeah,
well, yeah, that's exactly right. They support Trump and they, agree with his policies and what he foresees, in the future for America. So yes. And they actually took that like, well, you're a Trump supporter. So I don't like you because you're a Trump supporter. Well, of course that. And I thought, and Biden picked his cabinet because those people supported him, or whatever. And it was I almost thought it was just very comical almost. I didn't feel like it was something that was happening, in Washington that people were taking seriously. It was just, let's go in and support and attack, let's punch. And I just didn't get it. And like you said, Lance, if it wasn't televised, nobody would listen to it. And the only information anybody would get would be what they get on the news, on mainstream media. And who knows, I don't even understand why they do it. Just let him pick his cabinet, whoever the president is, and carry on. There's going to be people that are going to disagree and agree, and it's not going to make anything different. I just hope for the best, I guess.
So I'm watching I'm looking over there because Baltimore and Buffalo. Baltimore just went down, scored with 90 seconds to go, down by 2. Lamar Jackson rolled out, put the ball into the breadbasket of Andrews, and he dropped it. So Baltimore is going to lose unless they get the onside kick. Just on that play, I feel so bad for Mark Andrews that he just dropped a perfect pass that would have tied the game. If he was a soccer player, he'd be getting death threats over the weekend. So I had to say that so we can prove that this is live.
That's what
KT, did you have any thoughts? Did you have any thoughts on the confirmation, or it's kind of like, nah?
Just more mediocre, unqualified people getting pushed through. Just life.
And KJ, that's the thing, like what Ali was saying about them attacking personally. I think if they'd asked what your concern with Hegseth would have been, I think that's a much more appropriate question. Well, so go ahead and reiterate what your thoughts on Hegseth.
I didn't expect any of his nominees to get disqualified unless they do something Matt Gaetz-ish, which is go out and grandstand. As long as they follow the script, which is shut up and just ride and just, go in and play the game, they'll be fine. Like I said, over the last couple of administrations, the confirmation hearings, I think Kavanaugh was like the biggest one, right? Where it got to a point to where people just want to get in there and make a point, right? Like you're not objective. You're not there to find out if they're the best candidate or not. Your main goal is just to sit up there and see if you can get that gotcha moment, right? You want to get that viral clip or that social media clip so somebody can play your clip on the news. Nobody gives a shit about whether this candidate, who this candidate is or what they believe in or what their true values is anymore, right? We ask dumbass questions or or who you slept with, or what do you drink. I don't give a shit about that. You're a Secretary of Defense. I need to know what your policies are. I want to know what your stance on emergencies are. Those are the questions as a senator that I need to care about, right? You know what I'm saying? And I don't think our Congress is at that point anymore. And that's why I said, we're too far gone in there. I don't believe the SecDef nominee is qualified for the position. I thought it was a horrible nomination, but I also realized that he's going to get nominated either way, as long as he just shut the hell up and play along. But then again, he's just one of several nominees that are just absolutely unqualified for the positions that they're nominated for, and they're going to get qualified for.
Well, that goes, right? KJ, that goes back to your agent of chaos thing.
No,
what I mean is Hegseth is either going to do a lot of damage in the DOD in a short amount of time, or he's going to break things loose and potentially make things better in a short amount of time. I don't think there's a lot of in between.
I've never seen a segment of people been so vehemently against DEI and for DEI at the same damn time. And that's what drives me so crazy about society, right? You'll have a segment of people get up there and champion beating themselves on the chest. We need to be a meritocracy. We need to have only the best and the brightest. And we need to pull ourselves up our bootstraps, right? And then turn right around and realize that the only reason I am in this position is because of my relational appropriation to this guy, right? In no other way, if we were to hold up a blind resume of Pete Hegseth against anybody else in that position, right? We took the name and the relationship off, and we say, here is a National Guard captain who deployed to Iraq twice, and he has 2 combat Bronze Stars, right? And he was a Fox News anchor, and that's all the information I give you. And he runs a nonprofit, and he got investigated twice for misappropriating funds in that nonprofit, right? And that's all the information I give you. And we're going to nominate him for the highest position in our Defense Department, right? Would you vote for him confidently? Fuck no, you wouldn't.
But that's not DEI. That's basically, it's nepotism, basically, but not whatever the word for
no. The reason why I say DEI, because we weaponize the word DEI, because we say DEI, the only reason you're a DEI hire because you're not qualified for that position. And the only reason you were placed in that position is because somebody put you there, or else you wouldn't be there. That's the only reason we use DEI, right? We use it because we say, oh, the person is a DEI hire because had they not been a black woman or a white woman or whoever, there's no other way they'd be in that position except for the fact that they were put in that position, right? And if you look at Pete Hegseth and his resume, he is the definition of a DEI hire because his resume is shit. Twice he was kicked off of a nonprofit for mismanaging funds. Twice. He was a fucking commander of a National Guard unit as a captain.
Major.
No, he was in a major position, but he was a captain.
Are you sure? I thought he was a major.
Trust me. I've looked at it several times. This guy who you're putting as the SecDef, he was in a major position, right? Major for the same thing with the whole sergeant major thing, right? Remember the sergeant major vice president?
Yeah.
I'm a sergeant major. No, you're not. Right? Same thing. So he was
you're either major or you're not.
Yeah, he was a major. Yeah, he was a major, but he was a captain. Right? 03. So he's a SecDef, right? Now, you can say whatever. Hey, man, I want somebody fresh. I want somebody different. Cool, whatever. But if you hold his resume up, right, and you can say, okay, we're doing this strictly off of meritocracy, there is no way in hell you can justify this guy's position, right? I'll do you one better. I'll take your Secretary of Health, right? Your Secretary of Health. He's going through confirmation hearings next week. You hold his resume up, right? Blind resume. You take that name off. You tell me what the fuck qualifies the Secretary of Health for that position. Not a goddamn thing. But But we'll say what we'll say is we have a DEI problem in this country. We'll say we have a problem with putting people in positions that don't qualify. But then we'll turn right back around and we'll champion DEI like it's nothing. Because it's okay when my team does it.
So KJ, I don't think it's okay either way.
But you're arguing with it.
But you're arguing. Tell me what qualified Pete Buttigieg to be the Secretary of the Transportation.
Not a damn thing. But that's the whole point, though. But that's the whole point. It's the whole point. We can't have it both ways. We can't sit back and beat our chest and say, "Oh, I believe in meritocracy and the best man should win." Yada 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 yada. This is the only way, right? I think if we would have played a drinking game for the confirmation hearing, and you let the SecDef nominee out of his own mouth, and we said every time he says meritocracy, take a drink, we'd have passed out about 45 minutes into it. Knowing good and goddamn well, he hadn't pulled himself up from his bootstraps in a very long fucking time. But you get what I'm saying? But we sit back. His whole platform is we have a problem systemically in the armed forces with policies that are around DEI. This is why I have a problem, right? Because your whole platform, your whole issue is saying, hey, we have a policy with people being in positions that they don't belong in because of fucked up policies. But the only reason you're in the position you're in is because of a fucked up policy. So then how can I effectively trust you? How can I trust you?
What policy is messed up that put him in that position?
What do you mean? His woke policy, right? His woke policy. He's saying, "Oh, we got generals in position." His words.
Got it. Let me make my point here.
Yeah,
what you just said, though.
Yeah.
You're saying he's coming in and saying the DEI hires in the woke policy, and you said the only reason that Hegseth is in this position is because of a messed up policy.
Right.
The policy that's messed up is the president gets to nominate whoever he wants because he won the election.
No. I don't have an issue with that. But you can't turn right back around and say, okay, hey, I'm gonna get rid of the same policy that got me in the position that I'm in. That's my
but
same.
It's not. But KJ, it's not. This is an apple and oranges. This is an apple.
Bullshit.
It is because you're talking what you said and why Hegseth is in this position is because of his relationship with Trump. And you can say, and I agree, and you can say that is messed up. That's ridiculous. Why would Trump pick this guy? He's unqualified. There's a difference between that and a policy that says if you have certain things in place, you have to hire a certain number of people. And Hegseth, one of the things Hegseth said during the confirmation was he said, look,
there is no policy in place.
Okay, there is no policy in place. That said, there is an unwritten policy in place.
That's the same shit that got him put in the position, though. Dude, you're going back and forth. The same unwritten
KJ, I'm not. Listen. Okay.
Wow. Go ahead.
I'm agreeing with you that the reason that Hegseth was in the place is based on the relationship that he has with Trump. Okay. So a battalion commander, and I'm not going to say which battalion, I'm not going to say which commander, any of that. I had a battalion commander flat out tell me he had to put an African-American female because of the choices he'd already made, because if he didn't, he was going to get looked at. It's not a policy, but it's an unwritten rule in the military right now that if you, KJ, I'm telling you, man, you can shake your head.
Listen. That's
as
bullshit.
far as
I'll tell you what. That's bullshit. He could say that, but that's his belief. That's no different. That's no different than me coming in and saying, "Well, shit, I guess I gotta hire a white guy because my staff's got full of, I got an African American staff."
That's the difference. That's the difference. On the other side, I know somebody else, female battalion commander. Her entire staff was female, and I asked somebody that was very close to her. I said, did she ever feel like she had to hire somebody that was male because she only had females? And he goes, no, that was never a consideration because it's the right side of the quote unquote DEI.
But there's no right side. Listen, man, you can't blame people for your perceived fucking guilt. if you hire an all-white staff, that's your decision as a commander. Nobody gives a fuck. If you come back and say, well, hey, I hired 5 white guys because these 5 white guys averaged 290 on the PT test. These 5 white guys shoot expert. These 5, as long as you can justify why you have the 5 fucking white guys. But what you can't do, and here's the issue, what you can't do is you can't say, I got 5 white guys and they're all fucking fat and they all can't goddamn and they're all on fucking profile while you got these stud ass goddamn lieutenants sitting on the side. And that's where the problem comes in. But see, that's where the problem, and that's the information that you miss. So you'll come back and you'll say, okay, this commander will come back and say, well, I guess I got to hire a black guy because, well, shit, if I don't, somebody look at me. No, asshole. What you got to do is you got to find the 5 most qualified people. And if it just so happens that all 5 of them are white, then the rest of the motherfuckers need to step their game up. That's a true meritocracy.
I will tell you right now, that OER, that officer evaluation report for that battalion commander will say this battalion commander is not cognizant of the diversity of his force. And that will be a bullet point on his evaluation.
Bullshit. That's playing the what if game.
Not bullshit.
That's bullshit.
You can play the blame game all you want. It's happening.
That's what if. That's not happening.
Okay.
That is not happening. That's not happening.
Maybe it's anecdotal, but it's happening.
That's not happening.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there's instances. I mean, shit, there's instances hell. There's instances all around. But I mean, to sit back and say, okay, well, I have to have no, the fuck you don't. Because who the fuck's gonna sit back and say, okay, I got 5 stud commanders in my battalion, and all 5 of these white dudes are fucking rocking, or all 5 of these black dudes are fucking rocking, right? All 5 of these commanders are the best of the damn best. I don't give a shit what color. You could be goddamn space Martians from goddamn Neptune, right? I don't care. As long as I can look back and my paperwork says that, hey, who the fuck you gonna put up? Because if I put these 5 commanders against your 5 commanders, we're coming out on top any time. No brigade commander is gonna come against you. You can't, because I can quantify it. But what happens is you'll have that old buddy rub. Hey man, oh, I know this guy needs it. Here's what happens. You'll have, oh, this guy needs it. This guy, don't worry about such and such. Don't worry about such and such. I have to look out for this.
AJ, I've lost top blocks because of stuff like that.
But that's what I'm telling you. That's not meritocracy, though. But
I agree. It's not meritocracy. That's my point. Is it's not meritocracy.
But that's the whole point. I'm sorry, Allie. We got into a military thing. Hey.
Well, this is fun. This is fun.
What's our next one? What's our last one? We only have 13 minutes. What's our last one? We got a little poggy on that.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. Anyway, so tomorrow we celebrate.
Here's your time to shine.
This is it. So tomorrow we celebrate the Native Man in America. I don't know if you guys are excited, but I'm always excited. Allie, what are your thoughts?
I am excited. Actually, extremely excited. I'll be watching. I have, like I said before, I have the highest hopes. I have concerns. I know that I think it was today they said they're moving it indoors. There is so much hate for him, and the division of America right now is through everything from its citizens up to Washington. It's just so divided, and it's sad. And I don't hate him, but I know a lot of people that do, and that have nonstop complained and bitched since the day he was elected. And I pray for this country. I pray for the country, no matter who the president is, that all will go well. But I am very excited. I honestly believe that we're going to see some good changes. Going back to what you guys were talking about just a few minutes ago, and when any president runs, they do make a lot of promises, and sometimes I think you have to take it with a grain of salt that even though you are the president of the United States and one of the most powerful men or women in the world, you can't go in on day one and make everything perfect. It's not going to happen. But I am very excited. I I'm hoping for the best. Again, I'm the first one that if it doesn't go the way I'm hoping, that I will say, hey, you know what? I made a mistake, and maybe, but I don't think that's going to happen, because if the other had won, I think I would definitely have a lot more concerns about, the state of the country. But I hope it goes safe. I hope everybody stays safe. I hope there's no psychotic, idiotic people that causes problems. I feel bad, I think it's kind of childish that there's a lot saying that they're not coming out to the inauguration. And I think that the drama that has unfolded with those that are participating in the inauguration, the singers and the backlash they're getting, I just think it all needs to stop. There's so much crap. There's so much, I hate you because you like him, and I don't like you because you like her. And it just needs to stop. I've told my husband many times, and I've told my family, I wish that we could have 9/12 again. And what I mean by that is I don't want 9/11 to happen ever. But if you look about how this country was on 9/12, that's what I wished we could go back to. And everybody just be as one. And I know that's like this amazing picture in my head, unicorns and rainbows and all of that. But I just wish there was something that could be done, that the division of this whole country, and the fact celebrating the most hated man in America. That's kind of sad when you think about it. There's never going to be anybody that's going to be fully happy, but I'm excited. I'm excited to watch it. I'm going to be watching it. I'll probably tear up. I pray. I prayed for the country the last 4 years that, that the right decisions would be made, and that God would watch over and protect us all. And I will continue to do that for the next 4 years. And pray for President Trump, that nothing happens to him, and that all this nonsense will just stop. But I'm excited. I'm hoping for the best changes, and yeah, that's where I stand on it. I'm totally excited, 100%.
Chappie, what you got?
I don't even know what time the inauguration is at. I legitimately do not. I know it's tomorrow. I don't know. I am. Well, it's. I remember when the election happened, I had a friend who, after a couple of days, she posted something like, "I'm so depressed after the last 3 days and having to worry about Trump coming in and blah blah blah." And I wrote to her. I said, "If you are that concerned and it's affecting your mental health because a politician won or lost, you are too involved and you need to step back."
I read that. I laughed. That's true. Yep.
I don't care. I mean, like, realistically, the fact that Trump is coming in, or Harris would have come in, on my day-to-day stuff probably doesn't get affected all that much. And being military is probably more than most. But overall, probably not that much. Tomorrow's Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Great. We could be celebrating. And so I hope President Trump mentions that for all the things that King did, and for all the changes and all the progress we've made in the past 6 years. I hope that on Tuesday he lays out his agenda, and I hope on Wednesday Congress sits down and starts doing their frickin' jobs and gets a budget that can be done, and that moving the next 100 days means the government is actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. I hope they go through and they slash all the red tape that they can, that makes sense. I hope that the Democrats, those that say, hey, maybe now is the time to actually start looking at stuff and get off the anti, the I'm blanking on the word when you're against everything, the antithesis. Maybe we need to actually start trying to get, and I'll tell you what, if the Democrats do that, I will applaud them, because I think there's times that the Republicans, especially with Obama, probably should have done the same thing. They should have said, hey, you know what? He won his second term. We need to get off the fence and we need to actually, let's get down to governing. So I hope that happens. And I think actually in the environment we're in, I think it's possible, because I do think you're going to see some people like Fetterman do that. And I think you're going to have the people like AOC continue to squawk and not really matter that much. But overall, tomorrow's Monday and it's a federal holiday. And I think I'm more excited that it's Martin Luther King Jr. holiday than it is inauguration. I mean, cool. It's the inauguration. I'm excited to get past it, just because, like, on election day, it was like, oh, finally, okay, we're done. We can move on to the next one. Same thing. I have a thought though. Let's say tonight, Russia launches a nuclear weapon at Kyiv. Who's answering the phone for that response? Is it Biden? Is it someone else? I'm very curious, because we saw that stuff about Biden moving out of the White House this weekend, but I think it's probably the same person who's been governing for the past 6 months. But whoever that committee is, but overall, yeah,
That's a scary thought.
I think it's still got to be Biden, man. I'm excited.
Constitutionally, it is.
I'm excited. Every year we celebrate the most hated man in America in my house. So 1967, a poll highlighted that 75% of Americans decided that Martin Luther King Jr. was the most hated man in America, both Black and white Americans. So ever since then, since 1967, my family has made a tradition of celebrating his birthday, which is the 15th, but since it became a national holiday in the 80s, the 20th, as celebrating it as the most hated man in America Day, as we like to call it affectionately in our home. So we will be proudly celebrating that day with the wife and kids. So we have activities and stuff planned geared towards that. I will be taking the 46th inaugurations approach and abstaining myself from the inauguration and the festivities of such. Nothing personal, just something that I'm just not interested in. We got other stuff to do.
I haven't watched an inauguration and I couldn't tell you the last time I watched one.
I can tell you the last time I watched it. You want to take a guess?
Obama.
Never.
2009 and 2013. Those were the last two. But no,
you watched the 13 one also?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, I wish him well. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited, man. I am hopeful. I know we talked about offline. We talked about that Chappelle monologue, which was absolutely phenomenal. And then this will go into our final thought. I hope the CTR network don't get mad. We'll run over a couple minutes for our final thoughts, but I feel it's apropos that we get this out. And I'll start since I already started. Hey, if you haven't had a chance yet, please go check out that SNL opening monologue from Dave Chappelle. It was an absolute masterpiece. I know people have their own thoughts about where SNL has gone over the years, but I will tell you, by and far, this was an absolute masterpiece of comedic genius by Dave Chappelle. I have thought for years he had already ascended to Carlin and Pryor level in terms of comedic timing and being one of the greats, but this was just an absolute masterclass, and it was fantastic. The points were outstanding. The commentary was even more poignant, and it wasn't your typical, I'm on this side and I blame that side. It wasn't any. It was literally just a plea of rationalism, man. And I think it kind of touches to the points that we touched on today. And that's my final thoughts. Allie, you want to go next?
Sure. I'll take it just maybe a slightly different direction. As my final thought is, I hope we all come together. I pray for this country. I pray for all of us that, this next 4 years is promising and everybody gets a little bit happier, a little bit what they need to make their lives a little bit easier. And it's a privilege and an honor, I feel, to be an American, to be a veteran's wife. I know what he deals with and goes through and how much in our little family we love this country and we love the flag. And I wish the best for President Trump. I wish the best for Biden now in his health or whatever he chooses to do. And I think we just need to start coming together as Americans and stop you're Republican, I'm Democrat, and just realize that we are one. And lastly, big time pray for those in California. It's a huge mess. They're our brothers and sisters as Americans, and we need to pray for them. Such a tragedy, such a loss up there. And the same with the people in the Carolinas. We need to continue to pray for them, and hopefully they get the assistance that they need sooner than later. But we just need to come together and stop this nonsense of hate and get over it and put God first in all of our lives, and we'll be okay. We'll be okay. I appreciate you guys for your podcast and letting me be on here, and let's do it. Let's make the next 4 years okay and make it great. MAGA, woo!
Let's go. So, Chappie, take us home. What you got?
Well, I'm not sure if CTR had a hard cut because I'm watching it and I think they hard cut it, but that's cool.
That's cool.
I will say this. My daughter, I had this up and my daughter said, it says best chaplain in the world. Why would you put that? I said, I didn't put it. Somebody else did. So live up to the positive labels that somebody puts on you and prove somebody wrong if they put a bad label on you. I'll call it that.
There you go.
All right. Same bat time, same bat channel next week. Man, it's been a blessing, guys. I'll talk to you guys next week. We out.
Bye.
Gee, Ray, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
All right, yo, let's get into it.
Try to take over the world.
Reaching freedom.
Try to take over the world.
And greatest chaplain in the world, Mr.
Try
Lance
to
O'Neill.
take over the world.
Yo.